Well, hello, DCL podcast fans. This is Steve. This is a rebroadcast of our Coffee at the Cove live show, which we streamed on Facebook and YouTube on Sunday, the 21st of March. We covered the Disney Cruise Line's summer 2022 release. We also talked about Royal Caribbean and Celebrity will begin sailing single ship sailings outside of the U.S., Celebrity out of St. Martin, Royal Caribbean out of Nassau, and we finished up with Chris talking about what is going on down in Disneyland as it looks to open on April 30th. If you would like to, I know not everybody is a Facebook fan and wants to be on Facebook. Unfortunately, it's kind of, it's the best product that we have to stream these live shows to. But if you are not on Facebook and do not want to be on Facebook, I totally understand that. So we have got a YouTube channel, which you can find the link to down below. If you go to that, subscribe to it, you should get information as to when our next Coffee at the Cove live shows will be going out. And we will try to publish them in the future on Facebook, Instagram, and also on Twitter. So if you follow us on any of those platforms, you should be able to find out when those shows will be going up. And as always, we will rebroadcast them for those of you who are unable to or do not want to watch them live. So I hope you enjoy this look at Disney Cruise Line's summer of 2022 releases with us. And we invite you to sit back, relax, and now on with the show. Well, happy Sunday, everybody.
Woo woo!
Well.
I don't know.
I don't even know where to go after that one, Chris. What's that?
I'll tell you what I'm doing in a minute, but I'm gonna need to wait so that you can find out what I'm doing.
Oh. I'm intrigued now.
Well, welcome everybody to our little Coffee at the Cove discussion. Exciting news this week. Disney Cruise Line let out their summer 2022 releases. A couple other cruise lines announced that they are going to start cruising. And Disneyland is getting set to open. A bunch of different topics we're going to talk about tonight. So I don't know, Christy, where should we go first?
To the Cove? Why don't you tell us where you want us to go with these?
I meant with the topics, but let's just start with Chris's drink. He's got a mocktail that he really wanted to let everybody know he made.
I want to know about his mocktail.
I just felt so Steve and I just recorded an episode with a different podcast called something
Off Harbor in Maine.
Off Harbor in Maine.
Yeah.
And their whole thing is that they make cocktails at the start of every show and then they share out the recipes. And I was like, I'm jealous that there's a thing like that. So I literally mixed up a little mocktail, which is lemon juice, water, strawberries, and some sugar because it's a strawberry lemonade. So that's really all that's happening here. It's definitely not very alcoholic.
It's super cute.
And I put some ice and blended it so that it had a little more of a margarita vibe. Steve, I'm waiting for your dad joke. It's like you were about to dive into the episode without even giving us a dad joke.
I know. Hey, did I tell you that I trained my dog to fetch me a bottle of wine, Chris?
No, you didn't.
He's a Bordeaux collie.
Oh. Well, what I was doing, I just went right over it. What I was doing at the start of the episode was looking up my dad joke to combat your dad joke.
Bring it on, baby.
Kill me now.
What does a mermaid wear to math class?
Ooh, I don't know.
An algebra, naturally.
All right, I got to remember that one. My brother's husband is a mathematician. He's a statistician, and he loves all the math stuff. So I'll make sure I pass that on and give you credit tonight, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just say that I at one point had a cocktail with my dinner,
what was
and now it was lime LaCroix, which is fabulous on its own. Mm-hmm. A little bit of fresh lemon juice and some Tito's. Very tasty. Very good together. Oh,
I did it again. I was trying to look up on the page just so I could see what people are saying. Lake Sprinkle says hi.
Hi.
Up, Lake.
Hey, Lake.
Lake from Lakeland.
Mm-hmm.
So is it good? Keep going, Christy.
Go on. No, what was your question?
I was going to say, so as a vodka fan, which I don't drink a lot of vodka, but everybody always talks about Tito's. Can you really taste a difference? I don't even know. People are probably going to slam.
It doesn't make me sick.
Well, there you go. You don't get a headache afterwards.
Well, right, because Tito's is grain-free.
It's gluten-free. Mm-hmm.
Gluten-free, right.
So, yeah. So I can drink it. You know, it is really, though, it's like a good vodka, you really shouldn't be able to taste so much. I mean, I think people who don't drink, because Dave will sometimes try mine and he's like, oh, no, I can taste it. But like with the mixers, you shouldn't really be able to taste it much.
Yeah, I feel like vodka is sort of the alcohol, flavorless alcohol, or like it doesn't really add much in the way of itself. But there's probably like people who love, various types of vodka or whatever. But what was I going to say? Oh, but like tequila has a really distinct flavor. Gin has a really distinct flavor. Bourbon has a really distinct flavor. Vodka is sort of just like rubbing alcohol. So.
Or nothing.
Sure.
What's in your glass at the Cove, Steve?
I'm sticking with my beer. Nothing too exciting. A little IPA tonight. That is the one thing that I don't care what anybody says. I will argue this one to death. They have the worst beer selections on Disney Cruise Line. They have such a lame selection when there's so many different things out there. And especially, there's actually some pretty good breweries now down in the Florida area that they could use their beers, I'm sure, and sell them on the ships, especially down to the Caribbean and whatnot. And we're stuck with some pretty lame beers, but there we go. I'm whining tonight, aren't I?
I mean, even at Walt Disney World, they've managed to come up with some creative drinks. So you'd think they could throw it on a ship. It's not that hard. So we have to just say this comment really quick. So Lake and Katie from Lakeland has stated that we get to pick their cruise. That they need to decide what cruise to book for summer of 2022, and we get to decide for them.
Well, there we go. Should we jump into it?
I've already commented on their comment to find out what their parameters are in case they have any. But that's exciting. That raises the stakes.
Yeah, it does.
Of this little share out. So great. And Dennis just joined. Love Dennis. Okay, yes, so hi. We're having a great evening already.
And there's a bunch of other people who haven't commented. So if you'd like to comment, we can, give you a little shout out.
We need to get Dennis to cook for the show because he's got some amazing barbecue skills down there. I've seen a lot of the pictures that he puts on Facebook and Instagram, and I think every time I see it,
I gotta go follow it. I'm a barbecue aficionado.
Are you really?
It means I eat barbecue. Okay. I do not know how to cook barbecue. In fact, I just ordered a pork shoulder, a pork butt, because I want to try to learn how to make.
Pork butt is so good.
I want to try to learn how to make pulled pork at home. So Dennis, let me know if you have any tips for my pulled pork. Okay, we still don't know what Lake and Katie's parameters are, so we'll wait on that. But we do have more folks here. Brett, Rannon, Notchman. I'm happy to cover the transatlantic if you need a correspondent.
Sure. Yeah. The podcast has no money, so you have to pay yourself, but you are welcome.
You will have to pay yourself and book through Christy, but it'll be great. Hey, I'm anxiously awaiting getting pricing for Northern Europe. This is Sarah Olsom. Try number 3. The 11-nighter looks amazing.
Yes.
I hope that happens for you.
Wow, we have a lot of people. Anthony Hatch says hi. Kimberly Warnock Slusher says hi. You're making me want to drink. Good. Cheers, Chris. Hey, Amber. Okay, so we've got a whole crowd here. This is great. All right, so we're going to be talking the new releases. Steve, as the leader of the bunch, has given us all assignments. Christy is covering the Wonder and the Magic, or the Fantasy?
The Fantasy. I am never the Magic.
Never the Magic. Steve's covering the Magic because he's had his Greek Isles cruise canceled before, and he'll get to talk a little bit about those. I'm covering the Dream, which is sailing out of Miami for the first time. Woot woot. So we have a lot to talk about. And then we're also going to end tonight by choosing a cruise for Lake and Katie. So much at stake.
The pressure is on, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So once again, Disney dropped their 2022 itineraries and departure dates. I don't know about you guys, but this is my favorite. This is our family's jam. What are we going to do in the summer? I mean, everybody's got like a different time of the year that they love to cruise, or why they cruise, or where they want to go to. But this is always my favorite, to kind of see where the ships are going to go. And I think they've got some. I think this last summer there was, they didn't have the Southern on the Fantasy. That's come back, which I think that's kind of exciting. And in Europe, it's pretty amazing, some of the different places that they go to. So, Christy, you want to talk about the dates first, or should we just jump in to talk about the ships? I'm changing it up on you.
Yeah, that was later. Booking starts tomorrow for our platinum guests. And so, you have to start, you want to book early. I guess that's the main point. Platinum is tomorrow, Monday, the 22nd. And I'm not going to say the dates for the rest of them. Tuesday is gold, and then platinum. Wednesday are our silver folks. And then Thursday is our first time cruisers.
And if you're DVC or if you're Adventurers Club, part of it, ABD, you get to book with the silver guests on Wednesday.
Oh, I thought it was gold. Look at it.
Yeah, no. So that is the one good thing about being gold. When you finally reach gold, that you actually get a little bit further ahead of the crowd, I guess. But
and let me just point out too that even if you are Adventurers Club or DVC, you can still book with your travel agent of choice. You do not have to go in and book through Disney or ABD or the DVC. You can book through your regular travel agent. They'll just pull up that information for you.
Correct. Okay, well, let's kind of jump into it. I had another point that I totally lost here all of a sudden.
Someone asked if Golden Oaks is tomorrow, and I think
no.
They might.
They're soon. They're sometime.
I actually think they are, because
yes.
if you're a bazillionaire and you can afford to live in one of those Golden Oaks, then Disney's like, sure, we'll let you book early. Yeah, I mean, how many houses are there in Golden Oaks even?
It's a good number.
And they're building more right now, from what I've seen. So yeah, Golden Oaks starts tomorrow. I apologize. They do start tomorrow. I guess what I was going to say is, if you're looking for pricing, a good place to go is over to Scott's blog. He usually puts up 2 adults. So 2 adult pricings for most of the cruises, or all of the cruises. So you can go there, and it kind of gives you a rough idea of what to expect.
A starting point.
I don't use the Diz boards very much. They kind of confuse me for some reason, just the way they do it. But I like the way Scott does it. It kind of gives you a starting point. So if you're looking at that Northern European cruise and wondering what the pricing is going to be, you can jump on it over there. So why don't we let's start off with the Dream, Chris, because I think that's kind of cool that she's sailing out of Miami.
So if you're sort of wondering why, there is a big reason why. The reason why the Dream is sailing out of Miami is because the Wish is going to be sailing out of Port Canaveral. That's what we all believe. That's what we all think. Disney has only told us that the Wish is sailing in the summer, but it would be very surprising to not sail out of Port Canaveral, because that's where they're setting up the LNG, mega tankered and all of that. So for all intents and purposes, we don't know any Wish itineraries, but we know the Wish is going to be sailing out of Port Canaveral, which means the Dream
is being released later. That's all going to be released later. And
and it'll be a total ordeal, and we'll cover it here.
We'll all need to be drinking after that, I'm sure.
Oh man.
Pricing 100%. And availability. Yeah. Anyways,
that'll be a busy week.
Yeah.
Yes. But basically, the Dream is going to be sailing out of Miami, which is cool. Bigger ship out of Miami. It's a gorgeous sailaway. Where you go past all these billionaire houses that are all they have boats in their front yards, because their front yards are basically out to the water. And then you go past all the hotels on South Beach, and then right as you're about to go out towards the open ocean, if you look out towards South Beach, it's just a sea of people partying on South Beach. Who knows what it's like during this time, but we're
apparently not very good.
Yeah. the news. Following the news, it seems like there is still a lot happening on South Beach. So anyway, it's a beautiful sail away. It's great, and I would love to do it again, and I'd be happy to do it from the Dream. That being said, basically the Dream is going to be doing a lot of Bahamian cruises. And so there will be, it looks like a couple of Bahamian cruises, maybe that first cruise actually out of Port Canaveral, which for I guess is what, a repositioning cruise. Like they're sailing back into Port Canaveral, but then when do they leave Port Canaveral without passengers and go to Miami? So there's essentially not going to be a cruise where you're on the Dream where you leave from Port Canaveral and end in Miami.
Right, that is not happening.
But they're close enough that, right, the Dream could probably get there overnight, could like leave and then sail the next day. Yeah, so basically the Dream will leave Port Canaveral, sail down to Miami, and then have its first sailing out of Miami. It's a lot of 3 nights and 4 nights out of Miami, which is a typical itinerary for the Dream. We're used to seeing 3 and 4 nights on the Dream. That being said, pretty much all of them include stops at Castaway. I did notice, let's see, there was one interesting Dream that sails out of Miami and does a Western Caribbean. There's some Western Caribbean on the Dream. Looks like 2 of those, or no, a lot of
those.
There's
like 8 or 9, 8 or 9.
Yeah. And those Western
10.
What is the difference, though? They're listed twice.
Georgetown is one of the stops.
Versus Cozumel. Right.
Correct.
So there are Western Caribbeans that either go to Mexico or that go to Grand Cayman. I have done the 5-night Western Caribbean to Grand Cayman, which used to be on the Magic out of Miami. Recommend. It's great. It is a tender port, though I think they have a pier approved for being built there, but I recommend that. We had a blast doing that on the Magic. And quickly, I'll just flag for listeners that Port Canaveral is not a city where there's stuff to do if you sail out of, unless you really love space and you want to go to Kennedy Space Center for a day. But there's not a ton to do there. Miami is the opposite. You could spend a week before your cruise in Miami and find a ton of amazing stuff to do, which we spent a week after our cruise in Miami. We went to the Everglades National Park. We rented a car and drove all the way down the Keys to Key West and spent time there. So there's a ton to do in and around Miami and sort of like southern Florida. So I'll plug that for if it's actually not a bad thing that the Dream is doing shorter cruises out of Miami, because you could still get a week or 2 weeks out of a vacation on a shorter cruise if you wanted to get in some time in Miami. So that's basically the Dream. Yeah.
And while the airport is insane and huge, it is very close to the port. Like it's, I think, a flat rate of like $24 or something to take a cab to get to the port. And so if you needed a bigger cab and with car seats, you can get that there, which is nice. And it's like 20 minutes or something. So it's a lot easier. Yeah, it's very convenient.
I'll also note for you, though, that the airlines, instead of sort of like trying to have major operations in both Miami and
Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale, they've basically chosen one or the other. So like, for example, I want to say JetBlue has a lot of services out of Fort Lauderdale, and I had flown JetBlue in, so I flew into Fort Lauderdale instead of Miami. But the point is, whatever airline you have loyalty with, if that's the way you purchase airline tickets, it's not a big deal to fly into Fort Lauderdale versus Miami.
Like,
it's further, but it's still pretty easy.
45 minutes away. So that's nothing. Like most of us have to travel that far to get to the airport in our home cities. So
exactly. So I will say, don't put too much stress on whether you fly into Miami or Fort Lauderdale. It's pretty easy either way. The port is pretty old. Like the building that you sail out of doesn't feel very Disney-fied. Disney puts banners up and stuff. And on the Magic, which I don't know if it's going to be like this for the Dream, we'll see. But on the Magic, you can't enter into the lobby. You enter into deck like 4. Deck 5 or 4. Yeah. So like you don't get the grand lobby reveal. In fact, you like walk down a hallway of the ship and then they announce you. So a little less climactic than like what you might be hoping, but and I don't know if maybe the size of the dream will allow for a different level of entrance. It's sort of I think it has something to do with the infrastructure of the pier. So we'll see. But if you want to get the classic Castaway Cay experience, if you want to get a Bahamas or Caribbean experience, Miami is a great option for you, especially if you don't mind sort of ditching the Walt Disney World aspect. And soon, and I mean real soon, as in like, what is it, 2023 maybe, or 2022? Is it Brightline?
Brightline.
There's like a Brightline, a speed train is going to be going from Orlando down to Miami, which will allow you even quicker access, 3 hours or less, let's say, from Orlando to Miami to be able to sail out of there if you wanted. So that's coming really soon as well. So there's lots of options, and I would say don't discount Miami as a really cool port in Florida.
I would even go to say that we've sailed on the Magic on the 5-day too, the same one you did, Chris. And I think that was our favorite Caribbean cruise that we went on.
It's great, right?
Yeah, it kind of blew, my wife and I we booked it on a whim. We did spend some days up at Disney World and then went down there and sailed on it. And we loved that trip. We'd go back and do that again. So yeah, I think, and one other thing that I don't have all the details on it, but Disney has actually partnered with MSC down at the Port of Miami. MSC is building a whole new terminal. And so I don't know where the status of that is right now, but Disney supposedly has preferential something or other once that happens. So look for that in the future, that they will be sailing out of a different terminal once that gets built and they're, like I said, they're partnered with MSC on it. So
yeah, and Kimberly in the chat wants to know if we have an episode in the archives about sailing out of Miami. We covered my Marvel Day at Sea out of Miami, and I talked about our pre and post and how we got there and what hotels we stayed at and everything. So that's one option. And we've probably talked to other guests who have sailed out of Miami, which we could reference those episodes for you, Kimberly.
I actually did a Google search for DCLpodcast.com and Miami, and it goes through and will find all of the episodes that deal with that particular subject at all. And so I've put a link in the regular Facebook feed attached to her comment. But everybody else can do that too. So if there's something that you're looking for, like DCL Podcast Transatlantic or DCL Podcast Panama Canal or Marvel Day at Sea, all those big ones, first time cruisers, you can actually do a search that way and find our episodes to see what you're looking for. And you can listen to it right on the website.
And this has been in the back of my mind. I really want to bring Shannon from My DVC Points on board to do an episode of Cruising Out of Miami. And I was kind of waiting until the summer kind of came, which is should probably do it before that, right? Because it doesn't really help you out if it's already sailing. Well, I mean, nothing's really going to be sailing this summer.
I was going to say, that's some wishful thinking.
I know.
Although, on that note, let me make a comment. So Richard Fain came out with a new talk to the travel agents today. I love his little messages to us. So I think it either came out last night or today or something like that. So we're going to talk about this later in the show, but Richard Fain is the CEO of Royal Caribbean. Royal Caribbean owns Celebrity and Royal Caribbean. So they have 2 ships sailing this summer from other home ports. So they already have all the government okays. Royal Caribbean's actually already been sailing in Singapore and potentially somewhere else. So they're getting ready to sail from somewhere else, but they've had over 100,000 passengers on board during this COVID time. So since they've started resailing, 100,000 passengers, not crew, but passengers. He actually points out that they've only had 10 people that have tested positive during the cruise for COVID, and that hasn't spread. It's just been 10 people and they've dealt with it, and 10 people out of 100,000. And Dave did the math on that earlier, and it was 0.01% or something like that. So a very small amount of percentage. But something that I thought he said that is fitting to what you were just saying, Steve, he said they are hoping to be cruising by this summer. So it's not going to be May, and he said it takes a while. So they have to get the okay from the United States, the CDC. And then they have to get their crew on, and they have to get everybody trained, and they have to make sure the rest of the crew is vaccinated. So they have steps, and then they quarantine when they get their crew on. They'll quarantine their crew for 15 days on board. So they have all of this to do before they're getting guests on board. So all of that's going to happen. But he said, President Biden had indicated that he hopes that by the 4th of July, people are able to sort of return to some semblance of normal life, right? So Richard Fain said that he's hopeful that by the 4th of July, we are cruising. So maybe fingers crossed.
To be determined?
To be determined. I don't want to rush it.
Yeah.
I don't even want to be in a crowded airport at this point still myself. But I don't mind being where people are, and I don't mind where people are following the proper protocols that we know are safe in preventing the spread of COVID. So this is hopeful.
And my big advice to anyone who wants to sail early on is, if you know that you won't want to follow the mask rules and you won't want to follow those social distancing sorts of things, and that you're not the type of person who can handle those requirements, then it's best for everyone that you don't sail then and wait until the policies and the things are lifted. Because what I just don't want to see is like hostility and fighting and some of the things that you see in YouTube videos and TikToks of people like yelling about masks and fighting. And it's like, no, if Disney says this is what you need and you went on the cruise knowing that's what you had to do, then you have to do that. And that will just make it much more safe and comfortable for everybody. So I do hope that people sort of self-check and say I don't think I can handle that. And it's I get it. I could understand not wanting to spend the money on a cruise if it was going to be a different experience, or not wanting to have to wear a mask on your vacation. But then you shouldn't do it yet, and you should wait until that policy is lifted.
Chris, you're adorable because you are speaking as if the people who are uninterested in following whatever rule exists are listening to you and going, "Oh, he's right. I'm going to, how silly of me." Because let's be clear, the people that think that way don't care what you have to say, and they're going to do what they want to do. If I wanted to go to a store and that store said everybody's mask free, come as you are, and no masks are allowed, then I would just choose not to go to that store. The same way as if the store said wear a mask, you should wear a mask. And then there's the announcements that say, look, we will put the groceries in your car. You don't have to come in the store if you don't want to. You don't have to, but they're not listening to you, Chris. So you're cute, but they're not listening to you.
Okay, let's stay in the Caribbean. I think it'll be, well, who knows? Who knows how it will work out? But I think the first people that are going to really want to be on the ships are probably going to follow the rules to be able to get back out there, kind of like they did at Walt Disney World, and they'll kind of build from there.
They don't follow the rules at Walt Disney World, but
I think maybe initially it was a little bit better, but people, let's shelve that topic. That is an important topic, but I think we could go round and round on it. Okay, so let's stay in the Caribbean. Let's talk about the fantasy, Christy. What is the fantasy up to in the summer?
I am responding to Zach, who's listening, but about Chris's drink. So yes, the fantasy. The fantasy is doing its normal Caribbean, but the one thing that's a little one-off that maybe this could be for Lake and Katie, because I would love to have them on to do a trip report, is they have one 9-night Southern Caribbean leaving July 21st, going to St. Martin, Dominica, Antigua. And I never know how to
Antigua.
Yes, but sometimes that's not how they say it. So anyway, U.S. Virgin Islands and Castaway Cay, and then 3 days at sea. So that's exciting and would be a great cruise. Although I feel like they should go more southern for the Southern Caribbean, but that's just my own little opinion. So then they're just doing alternating Western and Eastern Caribbean cruises. There is one-off on the Eastern, which is going to St. Martin and San Juan, which that is the different itinerary that you did, I think, Chris, right? Where you went to San Juan instead?
Except I did Tortola and San Juan.
Oh, okay.
But I did specifically choose that cruise because I wanted to go to Puerto Rico.
And one of our podcast listeners posted when they went to Puerto Rico their subway sign, which cracked me up. So
for Steve, for Steve's need of Subway.
Subway's as good as Palo. And then the Western is just the normal Cozumel, Grand Cayman, Falmouth, and then Castaway. And then the other alternate 7-night Eastern is Tortola, St. Thomas, Castaway. So
Perfect.
quality. Fine.
I think that Southern's pretty exciting. So that might be, I have no idea what it's going to price out at Lake and Katy, but that might be something worth doing because I think it's one of those ones that they just don't do very often. So it's like one a year generally that goes a little bit further south. So let's go to the Great White Whale, the hardest ship to complete your Grand Slam on, the beautiful Disney Wonder. Chris is still dreaming about Tiana's place.
I've had 2 Wonder cruises canceled on me now.
So what's the Wonder up to this summer, Christy? Or next summer, 2022 summer?
Fingers crossed that the Wonder goes to Alaska. So, right? I mean, we need Alaska we need cruises out of Alaska again. So Alaska, 7 nights. She's just going to be sticking with the 7 nights. There are most of the dates include they all include the Dawes Glacier, but then Skagway, Juneau, and Ketchikan. And then there are 2 one-offs that stop at Icy Strait Point instead of Skagway.
Besides the beauty of Alaska, I think one of my favorite parts about the Alaskan sailings and the itineraries is you get that day at sea as the last day and before you pull back into Vancouver. And I think that's just awesome. So you're busy, you're going to see all these great things, and then you get that last day to kind of relax instead of I always feel hectic at Castaway Cay when that's the last day and then you pull back into port the next day.
Yeah, I do hate that. And you have to like break up some of your last day excitement and you want to be at the beach the entire time, or you want to be at a port the entire time, or whatever it is, and you have to pack and get ready. This way you really get to say goodbye to your ship before you get off of it, which I think is awesome. Mm-hmm. And I did so I'm going to point this out here. So we have a new she's not a new listener, a listener who's becoming a new client of mine who's getting ready to book for Alaska for next year. And she wanted to make sure that she could go to Tiana's place for sure during her sailing because they have the rotational dining. Yeah. And she was concerned that would mean that you might not get one of your dining rotations. And so I assured her, and we'll just assure everybody who's listening that yes, you will go to all 3 of the restaurants 3 times on a 7-night cruise, 2 times on a 7-night cruise, all 3, 2 times. There you go. Math. And then 1 restaurant you'll go to twice, but you will absolutely get the beignet dinner as long as they bring that back when ships start sailing again at Tiana's place on the Wonder, which is so good.
Yeah, and I don't know if they announced any of these for the spring, and I don't want to go look it up, but sometimes the Wonder does 2 nights out of San Diego, where it's like down to Ensenada and back. And on those, if you wanted to guarantee that you were going to get to go to Tiana, you'd have to request it once you got on the ship.
Yeah, you can't guarantee it. If you want to guarantee it, you have to book concierge, and it's still a request, but it is more likely to occur.
Or guarantee it, or book a 3-night or more.
Or book a 3-night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
I couldn't imagine doing that. Chris and the concierge did that 2-night, and I think that was pretty quick for him. Yeah, he did it back. I'm pretty sure he did it back to back, if I remember it right.
Which is probably the way to do it. In fact, we were going to do a 2-night. One of the cruises I had canceled was a 2-night that was going to lead into a 5-night. But I digress.
So let's turn to the Magic. She goes back over to Europe, and Brett, when he books with you, Christy, he'll be our man on the spot, giving us all the details as he goes across that transatlantic. And if you're thinking about the transatlantic, please go back and take a listen. Brett and his family went on the transatlantic across, and then also Lauren has done both over and back. And I think there's a lot of things to think about if you're thinking about doing that transatlantic. I really want to go eastbound, but I think I would book the westbound between the 2.
Wait, why? What is?
It's the time zone change. It's totally the time zone change. Yeah, like the eastbound's got way amazing ports, but I think that time zone change would throw me for a loop a little bit. So
on the eastbound, how many hours shorter is your cruise?
Well, I'm not sure on that one.
6 always, isn't
it? 6 time zones, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that means that Disney's stealing 6 hours from your cruise time, spread out over 2 weeks. So, you know.
It actually may be 7 because I think you go end up in Barcelona, and Barcelona might be +1 from London. Am I wrong?
Further east.
Yeah, further east.
6.
I don't know.
I'm almost
Christy.
positive it's all
Are
6.
you? All right.
But I could
There
be
you go.
wrong.
All right. Well, anyways.
Okay, wait. So, and I wasn't listening. I'm sorry. I was reading comments. But so which way do you want to go? Do you want to start in the United States or start in Europe?
No,
I wanna
he
start in
wants
Europe
to
and come
gain
back.
hours
Okay.
because
Yeah.
of the time zone change.
Yeah.
No matter what, could you imagine me on that cruise? Oh my God. It was hard enough on the Panama Canal cruise, just going from east to west coast, but to get all the way to Europe and like have your days just fluctuate the whole time. I'll do it sometime,
Yeah.
but man, it's going to be rough for me, my little body clock.
I think it was Lauren that was talking about how, just they stopped serving breakfast early in the morning because nobody was getting up after 2 or 3 time zone changes.
Yeah, they were like, you could come like at 9 or 10.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no point.
Well, I'm not going to go through all the different cruises that the Magic does, but she heads back over. She starts off going back and forth between the Mediterranean, which is the smart thing to do. The Mediterranean, the southern part down there, Italy, Spain, gets very, very hot. She didn't used to do this. She used to go up to Northern Europe because the Towlers, our friends, when they did their Baltic cruise, that was earlier in the year, I believe, or earlier in the summer. And then she would come back down to the Mediterranean. And boy, doing those port adventures in August in Italy, there's nobody there in Italy because they all leave because it's so hot. It's kind of like being in Arizona, I guess, maybe. But so she's going to start off in the
same climate. It's just hot, but that's not the same climate.
No, I know. I was just saying that people in Arizona leave in August too because it gets so hot down there. All right, I digress. Anyways, so she's going to head over there. She's going to start off with her Mediterranean cruises, different 5 and 6 nights. Generally, she's got one that goes out of Barcelona and back, but generally they have several that go between Barcelona and Civitavecchia, which is Rome. If you can do it, I would highly recommend that. I think that that's a great way. You can start off in Barcelona, spend a couple of days ahead of time, then make your way across the Med and end up in Civitavecchia, spend a couple of days in Rome. So you get, back-to-back great cities. Adventures by Disney has short excursions in both of those cities. So if you want to add an ABD on, you can do that. Of course, ABD is pretty popular in Europe and all these sailings as well. So you can add them on. And then she moves into June, and this is the one I think that we're looking at booking, is one of the Greek Isle cruises. She has an 8-night and then 2 9-nights. And the main difference really...
And a 12-night.
Yeah. And they hit a bunch of different various places. They all make sure that they go to Naples. They all stop in Athens. And then generally they all go to Santorini, it looks like. But beyond
What's
that...
What's big in Santorini? Is there anything like specifically famous there?
Santorini's the place when you see the blue and the white, the buildings and everything like that. That's Santorini.
Oh, so it's just like super pretty.
Yeah. So, and it's the one that we're looking at goes to Dubrovnik, which is Game of Thrones.
Have you been there yet?
We that was our very first cruise. We went on Norwegian, and we went to Dubrovnik and to Split in Croatia. And Croatia is awesome. It
is so beautiful.
Yeah. So we're super excited. If this has got to go, right?
It's got to.
2022. We got to be going. But anyways, it goes to Dubrovnik. The other thing about the one that we're looking at is it goes to Chania. And my wife, Anawake, that's where she spent her exchange on when she was in Greece. She lived in Chania. She's going to kill me right now because I'm saying it wrong. But
so that's the one you're going to book.
Yeah, that's the one that we're looking at booking because it'd be kind of cool for her to be able to go back and see where she was. She's still in touch with the family that she stayed with there.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah. And what's funny is, so she ended up becoming a flight attendant. I don't think I've ever told you guys this. And her host family's daughter that was her same age, she became a flight attendant for the Saudi royal family. And now she works in the training department for the royal family's flight operations in Saudi Arabia. So I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah. Anyways, then she goes on to that 12-night, which, holy cow, that one kind of packs in Greece and then a good part of the Med because it starts in Rome, heads down to Greece, hits a bunch of the islands, and then comes back and kind of does some of the main ports, Villafranche, Marseille, and then back to Barcelona. Then she transitioned. Go ahead, Christy. You had a question?
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, she goes to Florence as well.
Yeah, Florence.
Ish.
Florence-ish.
Like an hour away.
And that is one thing to really think about if you're booking a European cruise, because there's not a lot of sea days. They pack in a lot of
It's exhausting.
Ports.
and not all of them are. It's not like Alaska or Norway, which I'll give a huge plug to Norway, where you get off and a lot of the stuff is right there that you can see. I mean, to get up to Florence, I think it's a 2-hour bus ride, or 1.5 at least.
Yeah, there's a train.
Yeah.
You can take a train
from the port.
Yes.
So anyways, you get a couple different options, but it generally, it gets to be long days. So from there,
and
she
exhausting. And so
Yes.
I'm going to just say this too, because I'll have some travel clients that'll be like, we want to go on a med cruise for our honeymoon. And I'm like, you can, because it's like, these are bucket list trips of a lifetime, but it's not very honeymoony because you're exhausted. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. No, that is a very good point.
You're like all day running. Like we didn't even go to evening entertainment ever when we did our med cruise, because it was just like you were so busy during the day that you just ate and went to sleep.
We ended up picking Cannes is our day off. We got off the ship.
It is Cannes.
We got off the ship and
Film Festival.
Yeah, we got off the ship and wandered around, but that was just kind of our day off to kind of chill after we were just going nonstop through it. So from there, she transitions back up. I kind of like these. They've started a couple different ones where they call them Northern European cruises, where instead of doing the typical Baltic sailing, they hit a bunch of the capitals up there. So one of them starts off in Amsterdam, then goes to Warnemünde, which be aware that's a 3-hour train ride to Berlin. It says Warnemünde, Berlin, but it's a 3-hour bus ride to Berlin. But it hits Amsterdam, Berlin, Copenhagen, and Oslo, then back to Dover. So I think that's kind of a neat way to see some big cities along there. Then finally she transitions to those Baltic cruises. If you can do it, if you can do the Baltic and you want to do the Baltic, I highly recommend, if you can get 2 days in St. Petersburg, if you could do 2 versus the 1, if you're interested in Russian history, if you're interested in that type of stuff, it is money well spent. So, and the other one that I'll throw out there is a port that I think will surprise a lot of people if you go on that, is Tallinn, Estonia. It's kind of one of those ones I think that gets overlooked, but it was awesome. It's a great little city. You can wander around. There's some good food. There's lots of good shopping. You go to Stockholm. Was a great day in Stockholm, but Stockholm's a huge city and kind of a little bit overwhelming, where Tallinn was probably one of our favorite stops besides St. Petersburg. And I think I'm putting Chris to sleep as I'm talking about this now.
I mean, this is just your jam. This is your element. You have to be responsible for this.
I know.
You're not putting me to sleep, but Russia's on the very bottom of my list.
You're not going to Russia.
Like, just of all the places I want to see,
Chris.
of all the places I want to see, not feeling super great in Russia.
Oh man, it was amazing.
Well, maybe one day.
I will say, sorry, before you jump in there, Chris, I'll finish up here. I will say that the Norwegian fjord cruise that they've got for 2022 is a real Norwegian fjord cruise. They've kind of put some different ports. I'm totally drawing a blank on it. The one that was in 2021 is kind of a dud. And they put it in a couple different times, and that one is not in there. This year, you're going to Ålesund, which has got some great Viking history in it. Then you've got Idefjord and Nordefjord, which has got some great fjords to be able to see. Stavanger, which is pulpit rock. I think if you're thinking about going to Norway, that would be a good one in 2022. They're really hitting some good highlights there.
That sailing is September 4th.
Yeah.
And so
if you do Norway, where do you go? Where do you fly into and fly out of?
The Norway one leaves out of Dover and comes back out of Dover. So
the UK.
Yeah, the UK.
London.
Okay.
Oh, there's another one, August 28th too, that covers like half of those ports, just in case people wanted.
Right. And they touch on a couple of them.
Oh, a couple. Yeah.
The huge, that 11 night where it goes all the way up to Iceland. I'm not sold on Iceland.
Oh man.
I want to go to Iceland.
I would love to do that. That cruise although it sounds like, for me with my stomach, that's not going to happen. And going to Scotland too. No. None of that. However, but for my, stomach issues, That does sound amazing to do like Scotland there, Norway, and Iceland. Oh yeah, I'd be all over that cruise. Although I don't think I could do those seas.
Although I will say they used to go to 2 different spots in Iceland, and instead they stay at Reykjavik for 2 days. And I think that's probably a better.
Call. There's not that much to do in Iceland anyway, so might as well stay in the big city.
Well, no, there's a lot to do, but I think that you're better off having that 2 days because you can get out and see more versus having to.
And you can potentially do the Northern Lights at nighttime now. They have those like.
That's why people go to Reykjavik, but in the summer, I don't know. What time is that?
No, it's September. I think that's at the big. Well, it's at the very. It was September. Oh, it's not. It's August. Never mind.
Yeah, you're not going to see the Northern Lights on this one.
No, but fine.
Then she finishes up on the 7-night British Isles cruise. Brett, if he's still on, I don't have all the comments pulled up, but if Brett's still on, he and his family sailed on Royal Caribbean. We had a great talk with him. They hit a lot of the different ports. The Magic hits a lot of the same ports that he did on Royal Caribbean. So if you want to go back and Google that podcast as well, if you're interested in that. And if you go on it, let us know. Come back on the show. We'll talk about it. Hear all about it. So
Brett earlier had said I would absolutely do the transatlantic itinerary again. So that would be an interesting thing.
So I think overall, I'm excited for it. I think that the Magic's going to some great ports over in Europe. They've mixed it up, so there's a lot of different variety. You've got that Southern Caribbean on the Fantasy. You've got some great 7-day cruises on the Wonder. You can go up to Icy Strait Point if you want to, mix and match that. And then the Dream out of Miami, like you said, Chris, sailing out of just an amazing city with some different experiences down there. I think summer 2022 is a pretty exciting time for Disney Cruise Line.
Yep.
I just have to make one Christy comment. If there was a Christy comment. Okay, so you guys, what is my favorite summer cruise?
The Double Dip.
There's
one.
There's only one. So I think it's worth noting. And it's not even in the summer. September 26th. 5-night on the Dream.
It's in hurricane season, huh?
Well, I mean, technically it's all hurricane season, but it's like prime hurricane season. So there's that. And it's, so I guess it's an adult cruise or a little tiny kids cruise.
The cheapest you'll get on Disney Cruise Line is to sail during hurricane season when school's in session. Those like September, November, even October, even though there's Halloween on the high sea, those are prices that are like often reasonable. But if they put a double dip there, it's not going to be reasonable because everyone loves to do the double dip. And so that those are going to be more expensive, but it means you'll probably sail with less young people. If you're into that.
There will be less school-aged people for sure because
that's what I mean. Yeah,
they're in school.
All right. So if you're thinking about booking, once again, opening up tomorrow for Platinum, Tuesday for Platinum and Gold, Wednesday for Platinum, Silver and Gold.
Stop saying the Platinum. We know Platinum can book every day after the first day.
All right. Silver on Wednesday, and then on Thursday for everybody who has not booked before. If you're not
Steve, I don't understand why you have yet to mention Golden Oaks. For the many listeners who are Golden Oaks, you can start booking on day 1, which is tomorrow.
Also, please take me on one of your VIP tours, Golden Oaks people.
If you're living in Golden Oaks, you probably have somebody else doing this for you. Your secretary is doing it. So you don't even know that it's happening. It just does.
I only recently found out that Golden Oaks is really pitched to people as a vacation home, which means that many of those places, you can live there full time, but a lot of people use it as vacation homes, which means many of those places don't even have year-round attendance. If any of you are listening and you need someone to stay in your house for a little bit, I'm happy to do that. And just let me know.
I'll be happy to go check on it occasionally if I'm in the area as well. Not a problem. All right. Let me, before we move on from the Golden Oaks, because I'm very excited about this. Last year sometime, I don't know what we did and why we did it, but we received mail discussing Golden Oaks to our house. So Disney thought we were in a whole different bracket of, well.
Oh, same here. I get Golden Oaks ads and I'm like, y'all, do you see that apartment written after my address? That means that I cannot afford Golden Oaks.
But they know you live down in California, so you've got that.
So that's a whole different.
Well, that's true. That's true. Someone in the thread is asking, Christina's asking, what's Golden Oaks? It's basically like on Disney property, you can buy a house. It's like a private community. There might be a gate.
And it literally starts at 1.2 million for, as Anthony put in the comments, a cottage. A cottage is 1.2 million. And these houses are not that big. And it's like where the Four Seasons is, and they get they get VIP tours, so many per year. Oh my God, it's so exciting.
You gotta know though, I've always wanted to book a room at that Four Seasons, even if it's just like for a night or two.
No, you should. It is lovely, and do it when you can go. So they have actually a great kids club, and they have like drop-off service. You could drop off your kid and go to dinner. So that's fantastic. They have a great actually splash pad, but they have a very lovely adults only pool. I have spent a couple of I've spent some time there. So my husband and I will do a weekend, and sometimes we had stayed there. We would wait to get a very nice coupon to be able to book it, but it is a lovely experience.
Well, sign me up for the coupon list because I'll do it.
Mm-hmm. Like a Coke is like $6 though. And I remember, we stayed there once with my kid when he was like 18 months old, or I think he was 20 months old. He was not 2 yet. And he was really into hummus, and we couldn't decide what to feed him because he didn't eat chicken tenders. And so we ordered him hummus, $14 hummus, by the way. This is how much it's ingrained in my brain because I paid $14 for my 2-year-old to eat hummus. But that kid screamed out, hummus! And everybody laughed when it came walking down. So anyway, $14 hummus.
Okay, let's move on before we run out of time here. Hey, Chris, would you look at some of the comments, make sure we don't miss any questions? Well, Christy, why don't you look at those while Christy talks about Royal Caribbean and also, why can't I say it now? I'm totally drawing a blank. Celebrity, you're going to start sailing.
Yes. And Lake, let me just say, is this comment for me? You're going to get me an invite to the Golden Oaks house. Please make it be me, because he said he has a friend building a house there and he's doing an invite. Okay. So this is exciting, guys. Royal Caribbean and Celebrity announced on Friday that they are sort of ditching the United States, and they're putting one ship in 2 different locations. Royal Caribbean is putting a ship at Nassau, the Bahamas, and Celebrity is putting a ship in St. Martin, and they're basically cruising from those ports. So everybody for these summer cruises, if they go out this summer, like June 5th or something like that, you can start booking them this week on Wednesday and Thursday, respectively, depending on the company. And they are going to do sailings through the summer. The Celebrity is doing like the Southern Caribbean, basically. These ports are what I wish the 9-Night was doing for Disney, but because they're Aruba, Curacao, Barbados, St. Lucia, Barbados, and then British Virgin Islands. And then basically looping through those different ports for the summer, starting from June 5th to August 21st. The Adventure, and that's on the Celebrity Millennium, which is their smaller ship, but it's been revolutionized, or whatever they are calling it. So they put some of like the edge enhancements on that ship. So she looks beautiful, actually. And because of that part of the water, it's all actually much calmer there. It is also outside. Most of those ports are outside the hurricane belt. So it is pretty safe to do this summer. So those are just, I guess, points to think of. So that is an option. And everybody has to be vaccinated for both Celebrity and Royal Caribbean. Richard Fain did come out and say that he does not know that is the way it's going to be when people are sailing from the United States. But for these first sailings for the summer, you have to be vaccinated. If you're over the age of 18, everybody has to still arrive too with a negative COVID test. So they're
not going to do rapid tests on site?
They are not. You have to have had it. I know. And it could be because of the locations. I'm not sure. But go on, Steve.
Well, no, finish up and I'll throw it out there if you don't touch it.
Okay. Royal Caribbean is sending out their Adventures of the Seas, which has also been totally rehabbed. It's got like a super long water slide. There's actually like a water slide race situation that you get to have, like 2 different people go down and who gets there first. That's exciting.
I'm looking at you, Chris.
Wait, are they what capacity are they sailing these ships?
They are reduced capacity. They are only even sailing in at balcony cabins and above.
Interesting. Okay. I'm fascinated by this. But yes, Steve, I love a good water slide. It's my greatest disappointment that adults can't go on that yellow Mickey hand slide because it looks like fun, and I'm really
I'm just thinking about racing you is what I'm thinking about. I think that'd be a fun thing to do.
I think I'm going to win because of gravity. So yeah, let's do it.
I guess a couple. Go ahead,
cheer
Christy.
you on. Okay, let me just finish. So. Though that cruise is cruising out of Nassau, stopping at Coco, perfect day at Coco Cay. So Coco Cay, and either switching between Cozumel, I believe, and the Caymans. Wait, where is it all? Where is it going? It's going to Cozumel, I believe, and the Caymans, right? Is that the two ports?
I think so, yes.
And they have government approvals from all of those ports and locations as of now, and they've gotten everything cleared to do those sailings.
I mean, that's super exciting. I think it's going to be great because they're being the guinea pigs right now. And Disney will learn a lot from them. The whole cruise industry will learn a lot from what happens there. Also, they picked two ports that have airports. So, it's easy enough to fly in and out. And they're like doing that whole thing. Someone mentioned mandatory quarantines. I guess there must be some states that have a mandatory quarantine requirement upon returning from a foreign country. So if that's in your state, obviously that would be a thing to consider if you were going to book one of these things. But Christy doesn't just book Disney cruises. So if you wanted to book these cruises through Christy, you could.
Yes.
And she's got a lot of experience on Celebrity.
And Royal Caribbean. I mean, I've cruised Royal several times. As well.
Yeah, but one thing about Royal is I think doesn't Celebrity have on their newer ships like the Edge, they have those solo cruising cabins?
No.
Oh, that's a different cruise line.
Norwegian has
someone Christine in the comments mentioned Royal has a double the price if you're sailing solo because you have to pay for the first two passengers.
They basically all do, unfortunately. There's very few cruise lines. Like Steve said, Norwegian does, and Steve's favorite cruise line besides Disney. He is such a little Norwegian person.
What's your favorite? Oh, that's the only other cruise line I've sailed on. They're okay.
Yeah, I would put them in the they're okay category. They're okay. They're fine. But yeah, pretty much everyone, it's double. You pay double because that's how they work their money situation out. You don't have to pay double the tips or the gratuities, but you are paying the same price for the cabin, basically. You don't pay double taxes either if you put one person or two people in it.
Which is cool. Okay, everybody, if you're just joining us, we have two more important tasks to cover. One is that we have to pick a cruise for Katie and Lake.
Very important.
That's the most important. So stay here for that. The other is Steve asked me just to quickly cover the reopening of Disneyland.
Before you touch on that,
okay,
I just want to throw one other thing out there. Just be aware, and I think they brought this out in a different podcast as far as if you're going to travel to sail with Celebrity or Royal in Nassau or I'm totally drawing a blank on the other one, but you also have to meet the St. Martin. You also have to meet the entry requirements into those two different countries. So kind of take a look at that as well. It's not just what the cruise line's asking for. You're also going to have to meet the entry requirements.
Whatever they decide those are.
I'm pretty sure they just need a COVID test. It's still a passport and a COVID test.
Right. But just, I mean, once again, don't think that just like what the cruise lines has set up. So if you've been vaccinated, you're still going to need, I think it's like, they were talking about St. Martin specifically, that you have to, 72 hours prior, you have to have a negative COVID test to get them into St. Martin. So just it's something to think about. Okay, Chris, Disneyland, what is going on down there? The chaos, the excitement.
So Disneyland announced something called Touch of Disney, which is basically a food and wine festival in California Adventure. And what they're doing is they're making booths that just have like famous food from Disneyland that you can't normally get. So in these festivals. So for example, you can get like a snack size of the Monte Cristo sandwich from the Blue Bayou, which for those of you who don't know is a deep fried ham and cheese sandwich. What, why? And then you dip it in jelly because who? And then you eat it. And so that's available for you to get things like that. So excitedly for Steve and I, sorry, Christy, but I'm sure it would be difficult to get to California right now. Steve and I are going to go to A Touch of Disney together, which is super fun. We
Cheaters.
we happen to both be in vaccinated families, which is also safety first, all of that. We'll follow all the protocol to be great. The point is, we thought that's all that we were getting. In fact, when we got these tickets, we were lucky to get them. It was really hard. The event's completely sold out, whatever. Good night, Blake. But anyway, we thought that we weren't going to get to go. Eventually, we figured out we were going to get to go. So we're going to A Touch of Disney. And at that time, they had not announced any reopening for the parks beyond you can eat at the parks and shop at the parks, but no attractions. Well, things changed in California. The mandate shifted. And now they announced that theme parks are actually allowed to open on April 1st. And the Touch of Disney had sold tickets through like April, 20th or something, like basically later into April. And so we were sort of wondering what's going to happen with these Touch of Disney tickets. But Disneyland decided we're not ready to open right now. We have to call all these cast members back. It's going to take some time. And so through the Disney Parks blog on March 17th, they announced their reopening plan, which I'll quickly cover for you. They're reopening on April 30th, both parks. They're reopening through a reservation system. And the reservation system is not open and the details have not been released yet. So we don't know how much the theme park tickets will cost. We don't know what the sort of process for getting a ticket will be, but I'm guessing it's through their website or maybe through their app. I guarantee you they're going to do a waiting room situation because the demand is going to be massive in the beginning. But we'll see. Basically, what they are announcing that is for sure opening is the attractions in Galaxy's Edge. Things like the Incredicoaster. They basically have not said what isn't opening, though shows are not opening. There won't be, for those of you who don't know, it's very sad. They permanently closed Frozen. They permanently closed Mickey and the Magical Map. They had to lay off all of those casts. So live entertainment is not returning right now. Obviously, those folks no longer are employed with the company. We'll see what Disney decides to do in the future if they're going to bring those shows back. But attractions are reopening with guidelines. They also have announced in a separate post that they're opening Avengers Campus this summer, which is super exciting. That means that we'll finally get to ride the Spider-Man attraction and eat some weirdly sized foods in the Ant-Man restaurant. So there's a lot of fun things happening there. But for this April 30th, they're opening at a really limited capacity of 15%. A lot of people don't understand what that means, but for Disneyland, their typical capacity is 75,000 or thereabouts. I've been in the park when they upped it to 80, nightmare. I've also been in the park before they opened some additional attractions when it was down closer to like 60, 50,000. But in theory, that's their capacity. So if you're looking at 15% of, let's call it 60,000, just to be generous, maybe they're not reopening all their attractions, so they have to lose some of that capacity. We're looking at a fairly small crowd size and very few tickets being available right away. The hotels are not all opened. The first to open will be Grand Californian, which makes sense because they have DVC in there, and it's really complicated to have those DVC villas closed right now. And they're going to continue to update people upon release of new guidelines, but basically you can expect that most attractions will be returning. Some new experiences for character meet and greets where the characters are socially distanced. Masks are required, as well as physical distancing throughout the park. So that's sort of the opening rundown. April 30th, we'll know more about when it's going to open. There was something else I wanted to flag for you, though. They said the other hotels will open later this year, so we don't know exactly when, but they will be opening the other hotels on property. But they just haven't announced exactly what that later date is. I think that's everything for Disneyland. Obviously, Seth and I will go. We just don't know when. Who knows? We have a new baby. For those of you who haven't been following along, we have a 4-month-old, so that changes things. I've never been to Disneyland with an infant. I don't think I want to go to Disneyland with an infant, so we'll have to figure out what that looks like. But yeah, this is really exciting. I mean, Disneyland has never been closed for more than a day or two in its history. So for there to be an entire 13, 14-month period where the parks are closed is really devastating in such a weird way. And so this feels really special and exciting to have this opportunity to go back. Also, that's what I was going to say. For the first time ever, we'll get to ride Snow White's Adventures because they refurbished that attraction while the park was closed. So we'll get to see what those changes are. They made it less scary. So Blake, I think you would like to go on this Snow White because they removed the scary parts and just made it really fun.
It's a little bit like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. What do you think about that ride?
I'll give it a try. I'll give it a try.
There we go.
Yeah.
2 thumbs up.
You may have saw me doing some movements that my mom did. I just copy her.
He was just copying me.
Since this is live, I just copy her to make it look like a minute.
Okay, say goodnight, Blake.
Good night.
You're famous, Blake.
Have a great night, Blake.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. I guess one other thing, right, Chris, is that at least for the time being, it's only California residents that can.
Oh, that's a big deal. Yeah, only locals can go.
Yeah, so Steve, you can't go. You shouldn't be able to
won't.
go to the taste either.
That's
Well,
not
they
the rule
didn't.
yet.
They didn't put the rule on that, but
I'm just jealous.
yeah.
Let's be honest.
There's some pretty cool pictures from the Taste of Disney, so kind of excited to get down there and see that. So
Yeah. Okay, let's pick a cruise for Lake and Katie before we go.
I
Do
think
we have
they
to-
should go to Greece.
do we have to agree on this, or can we give them 3 different ones and they could choose from it?
Well, they did say that they would like to either sail on the Magic or the Fantasy because those are ships they haven't been on, I think. So
Well, then it's got to be the 9-night or the one of the Greece
The only
cruises,
reason I
or
would
they
say,
should go
like,
to Iceland. They should go to Iceland.
the only reason I might say hold off on the 9-night is because if
The
you're
ports
not
aren't as good.
if you're not platinum, you don't get the benefit of going on one of those longer cruises where you get to meet with the captain and have the special tour of the theater, right? So I
That's a
might
good
wait
point.
to go on a longer cruise
No.
until I'm gold or platinum, whatever
So,
level allows
Gold.
that.
Yeah, it has to start at gold. But that's what they could do. They book it and then they book some shorter 3-night situations between now
To
and then.
get to gold. I don't actually
Yeah.
know if Lake or Katie, maybe Katie's been on more cruises than Lake. If one of you is gold, then you'll get that benefit. So let's hope
let
that
us
you're
know.
gold. And then my recommendation is the Fantasy 9-night because then you're sailing out of Florida and you don't have to pay for airfare, but you're still getting to do something that all of us will be super jealous of.
Yes.
I'm taking a look at it. You know what? They don't have a 7-day that goes between Barcelona and Civitavecchia. So that's what I was going to throw out there. They only have a 6-day or 6-night. And if you're going to go there, I would at least do the 7-night.
Well, if you're flying all the way across the Atlantic Ocean to go on a cruise, 7 feels like the minimum.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
For sure. But you also can add in pre and post. So you're adding adventures to your adventure.
yeah, so I would go with either one of the Greek cruises. To be completely honest, I would go with one of the Greek cruises because Athens is an amazing city. You're gonna love your time there, and then stopping at the different islands. Those are like beach days, so I know they're fans of the Caribbean. You can kind of have a little bit more relaxing day, so you're not running into all the different cities that you do as you go through a typical bed cruise. And so I would pick one of the Greek ones, or as a wild card, I'd throw that Norway up there. I know that's one that's maybe lost its luster a little bit with Frozen kind of being years away since it came out, but that is a great place. It's a lot like Alaska. It's just as beautiful, and the fact that you can step off the ship and you're right into the town and can start your adventure there without getting on a bus to go somewhere is pretty exciting too. So I think
And I
those are the two
assume-
that I would give.
I assume you're talking about the September 4th Norwegian Fjords versus
Yeah.
the 11 night that goes to Iceland and Scotland.
Well, if you could do the 11 night, do the 11 night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if money
Yes,
is
I
no
want that
object,
trip.
do
I
the
wanna know.
longest. Do the longest one that you can. But if there are money considerations,
Money is
then
always a consideration. Let's be honest.
I know.
We don't live at Golden Oaks. Money is a
No.
consideration.
All right.
I
Any
mean-
final thoughts, guys, before we get out of here tonight? 2022, Royal Caribbean, any of that stuff, Disneyland. Christy, let's start with you.
Oh, I have to have a thought.
You don't have to.
Tired. I will say this will be my thought. My thought is I would like to thank some of the listeners that have been coming out and reaching out to employ for no charge to you, but my services to book your Disney cruise or otherwise other vacation. And we really appreciate that at the podcast because, as some of you may or may not know, my agency that I work for has become a small sponsor of the podcast. And so if people book cruises that listen through me, then we get to pay the podcast some of that commission that I earn. And it comes out of the agency's share and not mine. So everybody's winning in this scenario. And so I just want to thank those because there's been quite a few that have been reaching out recently. And so I'd like to thank you guys for doing that. And then really quick to answer Christine's question in the chat that, or in the comments that no, Blake has made some appearances before. Usually though, we're just recording, not with visual, with like this. I can't see.
Audio.
This is audio. This is definitely getting to be past my bedtime. And so he has made appearances before, but he's, doing more and did not want to leave until he said goodnight. So there we go.
Yeah, and to that point, if you're looking for a travel agent and looking for someone to help you out, I mean, you can't find somebody better than Christy. She's got so much knowledge with Disney Cruise Line, Royal Caribbean. Why can I not say
Celebrity?
Celebrity, man? I want to say Excelsior for some reason. I don't even know where that's coming in from, but Celebrity, Disney World, Disneyland, as it starts to open back up, definitely reach out to her. Easy to work with and just so much knowledge from all the different experiences that you had. So, Chris, any final thoughts as we get out of here?
No, I'm excited to do a touch of Disney. We should do a show about it. We might as well.
We definitely will.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Even
we
though
definitely
I'm
will.
gonna
Christy can
throw
Christy
darts
can
at
be
your
the
eyes.
interviewer.
Coco was amazing. Miguel was awesome. He's
Yeah.
dancing. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll do a show on Touch of Disney. We'll also, whatever cruise Lake and Katie choose from our recommendations, we'll do a show with them about that.
yeah, and they can clearly pick whatever cruise they want, but we'll still let them come and talk to us about it.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Lake and Katie, if you're still out there listening, once you figure out once you book whatever you're going to book in the next couple of days, let us know and we'll bring you on and find out why you picked what you picked. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, all that's podcast related, but I mean, those are my current thoughts.
Perfect.
I'm excited. I mean, this is the most hopeful I felt. I mean, partially because I've had half of a vaccine. I'm getting my second dose April 3rd. So I do feel super hopeful. I feel like we're coming back. I think what I said is I thought cruising would come back 6 months after the majority of the population is vaccinated. So we're looking at like fall. And I think that's not unrealistic that many cruise lines will start finding ways to sail even out of the US starting this fall or winter.
Yeah. Richard Fain always ends his talks to us sort of like Steve starts his podcast with us with his little dadness. And so Richard's always like, wash your hands, wear your mask. And he did say, and part of that before he said that part is that, the United States needs to make sure we're not being complacent here with coronavirus and that we're still being careful, or else these cruise lines, it is going to roll back, because if we keep having these issues, or if there's spikes, then these cruises are not going to be able to go out. And that's hundreds of thousands of jobs from even the longshoremen that work at the ports and the people that help you get your stuff into I have no words tonight, but the people that move your luggage into the ship, and then all the people that work at all the ports, plus all the actual employees that work on the cruise lines, plus the travel agents that need you guys to travel to make any money. So there's a lot of people that need America to start doing their part so that we can actually get back to cruising. And that was a message that he meant, or that he mentioned, and something I just want to remind people because I too want to be out there and able to go into the world maybe with a little less fear for even myself, but also just to get people back. Everybody wants to get back to work. Well, to get back to work, we need to get to that stage.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, I think that I do believe I hear Pirate Night starting out on the stage here on the beautiful Magic out right around the corner on the Cove. So, Christy, it's way past your bedtime. We better wrap this up. So, Chris, did you have something you wanted to say? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just going to say I agree. I know it's a Debbie Downer way to end it, but do your part.
Do your part, but let's just do our part so that Lake and Katie can go on their cruise next year. And they commented that they're thinking Norway and that they want to know if Steve wins a prize. Sure.
Steve wins the prize, and the prize is
editing our next podcast.
Christy has to bring the dad joke.
I was gonna wear my Norway t-shirt tonight too, like and Katie. So unfortunately I pulled it out and I didn't put it on. So I'll put it on next time. So let us know what you. There you go.
What? Oh, because of Norway. Okay, I was like, what? Why? Yeah. I am gonna show this, you guys. Steve wants to go, but look at this is my new Disney shirt from Walt Disney World. It's adorable. Cute. And you guys need to get it. Okay. You can hang
as
out.
we get out of here, thanks you guys. Thanks, Christy. Thanks, Chris, for being such a huge part of our podcast. Thanks for your guys' insight. And if you're looking to book that cruise, packyourpixiedust.com. Reach out to Christy if you need some help with that. And let us know what you guys decide to book. We'll put a post up on our Facebook page this week. And love to hear what you guys, if you're deciding to cruise in 2022, the summer, we'd love to hear where you guys are headed because I think it's a pretty exciting time. And we will be out there soon. So as we get out here tonight, thanks again for coming back and taking a listen. And we'll see you next time on the DCL podcast.
Bye.